We're live on your telly as well. Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Apple TV, Chromecast, Android, Google TV, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch us, you can find us. And we're right here for you in the studio on the 17th floor of the News Building at London Bridge. And a lot to get through in this final hour today. Specifically in the world of boxing, any football news that comes in, of course, we'll bring you first and fastest as well. But in the world of boxing, a lot of talk about a lot of the big names. Derek Chisora, still a big name. He's going to be in a bill in Manchester. Could be the farewell fight for Derek Chisora on December the 13th. The question is, who is he fighting? Topping the bill that night, Moses Itauma, a young man who blasts everybody out. Anyone who stands in front of him, he gets rid of them. 13 fights, 11 knockouts. The question is, who's next? He's blown away Dillian Whyte, Matt Ballaghan, Dempsey McKean, Marius Wack. I love that name. Who's next? Who wants to be next? In a moment, we'll put that to Adam and Simon. But Moses Itauma has been speaking about this. He's over in Nigeria, where we find Spencer Oliver. And might it be David Adley? Might it be Michael Hunter? Moses, who are you fighting next?
Do you know what? So I woke up this morning, like, you know, on my daily routine and whatnot. And then on the way to the meeting, I opened up Instagram. I just saw so many posts of me that I turned down the fight with F.A. Jagba. And I was like, I had a meeting with Queensbury not so long ago, and they gave me 3 names, and none of them was F.A. Jagba. So I was just like, it's not really something that I'm too heavily involved in. Like, I just get the opponents. We're working on it. We got 3 names. I'm not going to disclose them just yet. And it's a choice of the 3 names, and yeah, that's probably as much influence that I have on the guys I fight that I got to this date. Like, I can't just call out randomly people and just expect to fight them, because I'm a 20-year-old guy. And I'm a 20-year-old guy with a lot of talent, but I haven't got a backing or following like Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, so I don't think I can pull as much strings as people think.
That was Moses Itauma speaking just yesterday. Adam Smith is alongside Simon and myself this lunchtime. I know you were with Moses at the beginning of the week. What are you hearing? Good afternoon, Adam.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good to be here. Moses and I were at an event on Monday. He was fantastic, actually. He's so down to earth. He's humble. He's relatable. I really like him. And I do believe he's quite possibly the heir apparent. Oleksandr Usyk obviously has all the belts and is controlling the pattern of heavyweight boxing at the moment. He's taking time off. So there's a huge amount of build-up to what's going to happen, I guess, either when he goes or when someone takes him on. And Moses is developing beautifully. He's 13-0 with 11 knockouts, and he will fight December 13th. He will headline in Manchester, as you said, on the Derek Chisora potentially last fight card. And I believe he'll be fighting either David Adley or maybe more likely Michael Hunter. He's a bit irritated, Moses, that people have said he's turned down fights and things. And look, he would fight anybody. He's a fighter. He'd fight Usyk tomorrow. He's obviously got a great team around him who are guiding him beautifully, the likes of Francis Warren and his family. And obviously Frank as the promoter to get the matchmaking right. And what he needs, I believe, is rounds. And I think Ben Davison thinks that as well, his elite trainer. He needs rounds. He's knocking everybody out. And I think somebody like a Filip Hrgovic or an Andy Ruiz or a Jarrell Miller or any of those would have been good, but money talks. And I believe Michael Hunter might be the perfect person. He's never been stopped. He's had that one defeat to Usyk a long, long time ago. He's beaten Martin Bakole. He's been a little inactive, but he sort of fits the bill. American fighter, former world title challenger. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, Adam made a good point there, Simon. We want to see what is in the Moses Itauma tank. I mean, the last 4, Whyte, Ballaghan, McKean and Wack, none of them went past the second round.
No, because they weren't able to. And Dillian Whyte that went into the ring with Moses Itauma was not the Dillian Whyte that went into the ring with Tyson Fury a few years ago. And anyone who thinks that he was is not. It's wrong. Now, what this kid can do is he can hit. And what we're asking is, when he gets it put on him, can he deal with that? I suspect the answer is probably yes. But until that answer is provided to the question, then people are going to constantly question Moses Itauma. I mean, whoever he goes in against is in for a difficult night. I mean, the discussions were David Adelaide, the discussions were Hunter. The thought behind it for Francis and certainly for Ben Davison will be, can we get some more rounds? Can we get some more rounds? If they can't keep on getting rounds because they keep on knocking people out, eventually they're going to find an opponent that is going to give them a bit more of a handful than perhaps they want. But I think Moses Itauma is the answer to the question of who's going to be the next heavyweight champion of the world in the longer term. I think it's, unless we've got something really wrong, I think he is the heir apparent.
He certainly looks like it. His IQ is fantastic. He's got the speed of a middleweight, the power of a heavyweight, his movement, his dedication. But the most important thing for me is the other fighters talking about him. He's been in camp with Fury. He's been in camp with the likes of Joe Joyce when he was a kid, Lawrence Okoli, AJ. He knows them all, and they all speak so highly of him. That's all I want to know. Usyk, he wants to fight Usyk next. I don't think he should, but I do say, and I spoke to him on Monday night about this, and he wants to do this. He wants to spend time in Oleksandr's training camp because those headquarters are like something I've never seen before in all my time in boxing. The way that Oleksandr trains is unique, and I think Moses, as a southpaw and as a young heavyweight coming through, would learn so much by going alongside him. So for me, go alongside him, get some education. Don't fight him yet.
What do you think of that?
I don't see Oleksandr Usyk fighting Moses Itauma. I think it's a zero-sum game for Oleksandr. What does he get from it? I mean, ultimately, if you put Moses, it's not going to happen. So, if Adam's viewpoint is probably the right one, which is get him into an environment where he can experience some of the expertise without necessarily being in a competitive fight.
Yeah,
with Oleksandr Usyk.
Yeah.
I don't think Itauma would be ready for it at this stage.
And on that night, Adam, December the 13th, Derek Chisora.
Yes.
Is
Our
it
old friend.
Is it the final farewell? It seemingly is. Who's it going to be with? Who's it going to be against? Are we talking Daniel Dubois?
Look, the fight that I wanted to see him in with was the trilogy with Dillian White. But of course, Dillian took the Itauma fight. We all know what happened. So that's a difficult one for the moment. It's got to be maybe a Daniel Dubois, maybe a Jarrell Miller, or maybe a Dillian White off the back of a win. I don't want to see him in too more of a competitive fight than that, if that makes sense.
What do you think? I mean, he's determined to go out in a high.
Well, he won't go out if he wins. I don't think if Derek Chisora wins, this idea that Derek Chisora will pack in is for the birds.
Really?
If he were to fight Daniel Dubois, which I think is a very good fight for both of them for different reasons. One is because it'll get Derek a significant purse, and if he were to win it, it would open up a whole different dimension for him. And the other one for Daniel Dubois is he's a handful. Derek Chisora, whatever stage of his career, no one really bests Derek in terms of puts him on his back. Very, 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 very frequently does that happen to him. And I think it would be a good indication of where someone like Daniel Dubois was mentally if he were to do it.
Will Daniel be ready by December 13th? I'm not sure.
What, because of the injury?
Well, I mean, the talk is early New Year. Maybe he'll be back. AJ's talking about that as well. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a fantastic fight if that happens, but it's quick. We're at the beginning of October. There's not a lot of time to make that.
I was going to say that, Adam. Time's getting on.
Jarrell Miller for me is a cracking fight because the build-up will just be
insane.
Yeah. Let's reward a drugs cheat.
Well, there is that, isn't there? I mean, that comes into play as well, Adam. He's not the most popular fighter.
No, of course not. He's not. He's not. But he's charismatic and he's licensed to fight.
Banned.
Well,
how many fighters could you say that about, though, Simon?
That's not the point. How many fighters? Ones get caught and then get caught again. I mean, it's preposterous a sport that puts itself in a way of such jeopardy and asks itself so little questions about safety, allows someone that's being banned and sanctioned for drugs cheating to be
time in a game,
brought back in again. Can't be right.
There's so many heavyweights that could take that place. I mean, Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz from America, Jared Anderson. There's loads that could fight Chisora still. So I agree with Simon. If he wins, I can't see him hanging the gloves up just yet. I think he loves it too much. And he keeps talking about fighting for a world title again. I mean, all those years ago with Vitaly Klitschko, it seems just, well, I would have loved to have seen him go out against Dillian White at the O2 in a thunderous trilogy fight. I thought that was the right one, but it's not going to happen. It's in Manchester, so we wait and see.
And Adam, on that topic, which heavyweight will come to the fore for a world title in 2026? Of a clutch of them, Wardley, Parker or Itauma, which of those three offer the best chance potentially to topple Usyk?
I think Moses Itauma will be world heavyweight champion by 2027 definitively. 2026 is interesting. So Oleksandr Usyk takes a break. I'd like to see Joseph Parker get the chance. However, he's got to get past Fabio Wardley. He should get past Wardley, but Wardley has, as we know, the right hand that can end anything at any time. And he's unbeaten, so he's not got that pressure on his shoulders, Fabio. He goes in as a very live underdog. But if Joseph can, as I think he should be able to under Andy Lee and the form he's in, deal with Fabio Wardley on the 25th of October, he should get the next opportunity, definitively.
And what happens for Wardley if he finds a way of getting over Parker?
Then he should get a chance.
Yeah.
He should be the one. If he beats Joseph Parker, he should get a chance at Usyk. Why not?
Wow. At the moment, those are the questions to which we have no answers, unfortunately. Who does Derek Chisora fight on December the 13th? We still don't know, nor do we know Moses Itauma. When we know, you'll know, that's for sure. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco with the trade goes. talkSPORT this Thursday lunchtime. A lot to get through, and Adam is just the boy to do that with us. 2 years this month from the first Riyadh boxing season event. What was that event? I'll tell you. It was Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou, and that was in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. After some of the friction that was brought about by the very presence of the Saudis at the beginning 2 years ago, have the Saudis very much now become entrenched, even accepted in the world of boxing? Interestingly, former fighter Anthony Crolla was in conversation with our own Adam Catterall about that, and he tells us where he thinks the sport has gone in the past 2 years.
If you have the lads around, a few beers, bit of food, you're seeing 5 brilliant fights coming from Saudi. But what you're also seeing there are 5 headliners, which could potentially be 5 big UK shows. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
For me, British boxing is in a major crisis. It's in a major crisis. The small hall show, it's been absolutely murdered because of that. And not just that, the amount of UK shows we're seeing, they've been cut in half. It's probably less.
I like Anthony. And when he speaks, I listen. But Adam, I noticed you say you were listening to it. You were shaking your head. I mean, are small hall shows really in decline, as he suggests?
I like Anthony, and I always listen to him. What a fantastic fighter and a great guy. I see what he means. I think they're difficult. The small hall show circuit, it's hard. However, there's still plenty of great fight nights around the British shores. We had a terrific one in Sheffield on Saturday night with GBM, topped by Sean McComb in a good little fight. Also, Tycee Gallagher fought. It is the lifeblood of the country, right? The small hall shows. There was a couple, I think, down at York Hall when we were up in Sheffield. So they are still happening. And at DAZN,
where we responsibility at DAZN, I'll shake to make the small hall shows work.
Jim, DAZN, week in, week out, we've got good shows up and down the country. Are there enough? Maybe not. But what Turki Al-Sheikh has done, certainly on the global circuit, and what's happened to boxing has been enormous. The best are fighting the best. You just look at what he's done over many, many events now in the last 2 years, and we've seen some terrific fights. As Anthony said, maybe there would have been some of them headliners in Britain, but they are happening. And before, without Eddie and Frank working together, etc., they weren't. So it's a massive benefit. And boxing's opened up. The casual audience, Netflix, Zuffa boxing, all of these things have opened up in our sport. Yeah. That's got to be a good thing. And I'm telling you, there are so many good prospects up and down the country. The TMA Aitons, the Leo Atangs, the Talib Evans. We're in a good spot. Yes, some of the small halls might be struggling, but we're in a good spot. And at GBM, we're enjoying it.
We'll get to Zuffa boxing in a second. Simon, do you think the small hall shows have been hit hard by the arrival of the Saudis?
I think there's a cause and effect in everything. I think there's an opportunity to be in there. I mean, it's undoubted, if you look at the currency of boxing and where it is now, with the top end being raised massively by the investment put in by the Saudis, it creates an opportunity. It doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean that the small hall hall shows have got it easy, but it means that the currency of boxing is providing a climate where there is an opportunity. You may have to work a little harder. You may have to work the asset a little bit more, more succinctly than you've done previously.
Yeah.
But I think that most people, if they were doing a weights and measures on what they think boxing has benefited from over the last 24 months, if you polled people, they would turn around and say that their investment in boxing, their understanding of it, their awareness of it, and the scale of it has gone up tenfold since the Saudi investment.
You've had things to say, as everybody has, about the arrival of the Saudis, Simon. Do you fully accept them now as part of the scene and a big influential part of the scene?
I never didn't. What I didn't like was the idea that they were beyond any criticism or any observation, because everyone has observation except apparently they didn't like it. And if it was unfair, that was fair. And I didn't like the idea of British promoters being prepared to sell everything besides their own backsides at an event that was in a Wembley stadium in front of English fans with English fighters. I didn't see the necessity for an anthem from an overseas promoter. So that was it. That was the end of the controversy. Beyond that, I think Turki Al-Sheikh has done. I think he's been a revelation for boxing. I think he's livened them up. When we hear, with due respect to Frank and Eddie, about what they do and don't think, they couldn't make a fight for 15 years. Shame on them. Shame on them. Well, it took someone else to do it.
It's been quite a 24 months, hasn't it, with the arrival of the Saudis? The question being, what is the next turn of the wheel? Apparently, Zuffa Boxing, Adam mentioned it a second ago. What is that? It's a new promotional company formed by TKO and Sella, and that's Dana White and Turki Al-Sheikh. It will have its own belts. It won't recognise other sanctioning bodies. It will only recognise Ring Magazine rankings. 12 cards planned throughout 2026. Dana White's been speaking more about that.
My big focus is on building a fan base that completely trusts a brand like the UFC. Like when you stay home on a Saturday night, you know what you're going to get. If you buy tickets and come to the UFC live, you know you're going to get a great experience live or on TV, or if you go to a bar. And that's what I want to bring back to boxing. So many times, me, you, the people watching this right now, you've stayed home on a Saturday night, you're excited for this fight, and then you turn the TV off at the end of the night, and you're like, they got me again. That was terrible. The number one thing that is the most important to me is starting to regain the trust of the boxing fans.
There's a lot of sense in that, Adam, is there not?
Look, he's a very intelligent man, and he's done a brilliant job with the UFC, Dana White, and I'm very excited to see what he does in 2026. Obviously, the whole idea of all under one umbrella and everybody learning the stories and all fighting is great. But we are in the Wild West of boxing, and Turki Al-Sheikh, as Simon has said, it's a revelation what he's done. He's made the big fights, and now we're actually getting them, on other shows, Ring Magazine shows, and that's making sure as well on British soil that Frank and Eddie and Ben are putting on good events now. So I think everybody's benefiting from it. So if this is another edition where they're going to have their own belts and they're not going to recognise the world titles. Look, some fighters tell me they want to win the WBC, the WBA, the IBF. There are more opportunities there. There's more chance of them becoming a world champion one day. And they want to do what Lennox Lewis did and the greats of the past. They want to live up to that. There's something about that history. But also, cue Eddie Hearn. Bring on the fight. I mean, we're going to love it, aren't we?
Well, there's method to it, though, Simon. Is there not? Streamline it all.
Well, it's interesting to see how they're going to do it, because ultimately, it's one of the big things they're doing is challenging the Muhammad Ali Act to be able to change the direction of travel in the way that fighters are paid and the obligations under that, which I would imagine is to their benefit. And the UFC model has been challenged. It's wonderful what Dana says, but they've been taken to court now for the last 10 years and are now paying out hundreds of millions in compensation to fighters, to UFC fighters, for the distribution of monies. The landscape is different. I understand why he's trying to do it. I think they're another innovation. They're another string to a bow. And the more people that are doing this, I think the more boxing benefits as a result of it. So let it play out. Whether Eddie Hearn is a rival to them or whether Eddie Hearn becomes something that does something in of its own right, they're a major promoter of their own right. They're not going to be worried about what Dana's doing.
Well, Turki Al-Sheikh's had the Midas touch so far, Adam. Is this another demonstration of that?
Let's see. He's been brilliant so far. Let's see what happens. Dana's a brilliant, brilliant promoter, and you can hear from him how much we want to tune in, but we're already Saturday night. Tune in. It's going to be a great night in Scotland. Week after, we're in Sheffield with Dave Allen. You know, time and time again, we're getting. It's Boazzi and Parker, Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker. The next 4 or 5 fight nights here in Britain. The show in Riyadh on November 22nd is unbelievably stacked. So we're getting big events now. What we weren't getting maybe a few years back when Frank and Eddie weren't working together, and Ben Shalom's got shows on BBC. The more the merrier for boxing. This is great. It's another chapter, another twist. We had Al Heyman come in a while ago and all of that. Let's see what happens with this.
Interesting to see. You say the Midas touch. What he's had is the checkbook. The only reason that these fights have been made is because there's been no commercial principles behind them. The commercial principles have been seeding the idea that people talk about Saudi now through the prism of boxing and sport, and it's worked. But they are beginning to pull their horns in. They're beginning to readdress the balance. You're not seeing the same purses being paid.
You say a checkbook, but he has chosen boxing as a fan, and that's fantastic for us.
Absolutely. But you know the reason why? Because they couldn't do it in golf because the structure was too rigid, and they couldn't do it in football. So the easier one to do and create massive influence through was boxing. And they've been able to turn themselves from also-rans into the boxing mecca. They are now the go-to place for boxing. They own boxing.
And it's more than a checkbook. The best fights, and fighters are getting paid, and that is key.
Yeah, fighters are getting paid. And it's been more than a checkbook. I mean, he's knocked heads together and said, this is how we're going to do it.
With the checkbook.
With the checkbook.
But he's done the
different
impossible.
formats.
Frank Warren I worked with for 15 years, Eddie Hearn for 10.
With the checkbook.
With the checkbook, with a smaller checkbook, and with a bigger checkbook, they come in, they're hugging on stage.
Okay, stand by for Zuffa Boxing. It's 12:30.
Scotland.
He and I are going up. Mr. Jordan and I are going up today, Adam, and you're heading up there this weekend.
I'm heading up tomorrow. Nathaniel Collins returns. I really like him. Unbeaten southpaw, fighting for the European featherweight title, closing in on world honours. Love to see him against Nick Ball. That's a fight for 2026. But look out for him. And he's come back from a critical injury, and he had horrendous surgery on a twisted bowel. Nathaniel Collins. I thought he'd never survive that. He got through that. He's done ultra marathons, and now he's back in the ring. He looked terrific last time out against Lee McGregor. Can't wait for Saturday.
I can't wait for tomorrow lunchtime. Simon and I are at Chris Boyd's charity lunch. And of course, the man to my left will be speaking at it with me. Are you somewhat trepidatious about going up there in view of what you've said in the past about Scotland, Scottish football? How after we got a 0-0 draw at Wembley, we celebrated like we had a national holiday to celebrate that.
You're a canker on the side of the British Isles.
Yes.
You've got a national debt. How I'd cast you off quite happily.
Yeah.
No, I'm quite happy with all those things.
I eagerly wait to see the reception he gets. It will be sensational. I'll be right beside you.
Can I come in, just watch from the back?
You can come in, Adam. I'll give you the address. I'll be right beside you, Simon. From distance, but I'll be right beside you. 50 years on from this. From what? Thrilla in Manila. Do you remember that? Yesterday marked the 50th anniversary. Muhammad Ali stopped Joe Frazier in their Thrilla in Manila, of course, in the Philippines, a trilogy in the Philippines. And the late Colin Hart, one of the all-time great boxing writers, spoke back in 2020 to talkSPORT about the said Thrilla in Manila.
Ladies and gentlemen, the government and people of the Republic of the Philippines, in cooperation with Don King Productions Incorporated, proudly present the Thrilla in Manila.
Of all the World Heavyweight Championships I've been fortunate to be at, there's no doubt in my mind that the most brutal, and maybe the most brutal heavyweight championship of all time, was the second World Championship fight between Muhammad Ali and Smoking Joe Frazier in the Thrilla in Manila. They were both past their best, and they were so shot they couldn't get out the way of each other's punches. So for 14 rounds non-stop in intense heat at breakfast time, believe it or not, they battered away at each other, and it made me she makes me shudder even today to think back on that fight. At the end of the 14th round, Frazier couldn't see out of his left eye, and his great trainer, Eddie Futch, pulled him out of that fight at the end of the 14th round.
The doctor comes up and looks at Frazier. I think it's going to be over. It's all over.
Joe stood up in the corner ready to go on, and Eddie said, "Sit down, son, it's over. But nobody will ever forget what you did here today." I tell you how brutal it was. Don't take my word for it. Muhammad Ali said afterwards that's the nearest to death he'd ever been. At the press conference, Ali walked into the room and Marvis Frazier, Frazier's son, who was about 14, was sobbing in the corner, having seen his father take such a horrible beating. And Ali walked over to him, put his big arm around his shoulder and said, "Stop crying, Marvis. Your dad's a great fighter." These things stick in the memory, believe me.
I'm so tired, I don't want to do nothing. I want to rest for 1 week. My hips are sore, my arms are sore, my sides are sore. I'm going to take a rest now. That's my 4th fight in 1 year. But there's a great possibility, fellas, this might be my last fight tonight. A great possibility. You probably saw the last of Ali.
And of course, it wasn't his last fight, was it? Adam Smith alongside Simon this lunchtime. Adam, does it remain boxing's most iconic fight?
It's got to be one of 2 or 3. The Rumble in the Jungle, of course, when Ali's rope-a-dope outdid George Foreman. There are a few others. Hagler Hearns for me. That was the one that got me when I was a kid. But I think, yeah, Ali Frazier 3, the trilogy in Manila with everything. 1-1. As Colin said, dear friend of mine, Colin was wonderful writer and was there and said it was a breakfast time in searing heat, and they did. It was probably the most brutal heavyweight fight of all time. We've had AJ Klitschko and other great heavyweight fights in modern times, obviously the Fury Wilder trilogy too, but I think in terms of where it was in the mid-70s and that golden era of heavyweight boxing, I think Ali Frazier 3 has got to be there. And the fact that Eddie Futch pulled him out and the other corner, Angelo Dundee and Ali, were ready to quit too at the end of the 14th round, yeah, extraordinary. And those sort of words afterwards and the memories will live on forever.
50 years ago. Incredible, son. I think I was 18. I mean, those were the times you got out of bed in the early hours of the morning.
I mean, the far-reaching consequences of those fights, because Ali, going into that fight, he'd played the Uncle Tom card repeatedly with Joe Frazier. In this one, he went even beyond it, and he started calling him a gorilla, and talked about a gorilla in Manila. And I think it damaged their relationship beyond repair. Even though you saw them in later times in life, there was always this searing resentment from Joe Frazier towards Muhammad Ali because of the chances he'd given him, the help they'd given him up, and the way that Ali had played that particular card. And of course, the flip side of it was that Joe Frazier loses this fight, fights twice again, never wins again, whereas Ali goes on to win 6 more times, culminating in the loss against Leon Spinks, winning back the world title to be the 3-time heavyweight champion of the world, but probably ceding all of the damage that we saw in him physically during that period, culminating in the outcome that we saw in the latter parts of Ali's life, which was the health challenges that he had. But what you had were 2 unbelievable heavyweights. Joe Frazier, to some extent, was kryptonite to Muhammad Ali. Whether it was because Ali had 3 years out of the ring and ultimately came back a different fighter, but Joe Frazier, when he first fought him in 1971,
71.
In Madison Square Garden, was not expected to be beating Muhammad Ali.
The fight of the century, that. Frank
Indeed.
Sinatra taking
and the money
photographs
they got
at
paid for
ringside.
it. Absolutely.
Time magazine. And and I think you also, with trilogies, you bear souls, don't you? The Morales Barrera trilogies, the Gatti Wards, the Holyfield and Bowes, and recently Wilder and Fury, of course. It's something about fighting each other on 3 occasions when it's 1 apiece or
yeah.
Unbelievable.
Different level, isn't it? 50 years on from Thrilla in Manila. When we come back, final part of the show today, we'll ask this question. Is everybody too quick to try and retire Anthony Joshua? We'll look at that in a second. time up for Anthony Joshua. Maybe too quick to try and retire Anthony Joshua. Johnny Nelson was one of the guests on Simon's Top Boxing Show this week. And this is what Johnny said.
I think, first of all, I don't think Jake Paul was ever going to happen.
No, I hope it doesn't.
I don't think it was ever going to happen. Even when Jake Paul was shouting out and Eddie kind of like propped it up.
It shouldn't, by the way.
It was never, ever going to happen, number one. Number two, I think for Anthony Joshua, coming from a place of love, I think Anthony Joshua's got nothing else to prove in this game, and he should rather walk away than hang about and wait for someone to turn him over. It's either him and Tyson Fury, which we're all sick of. Is it happening or isn't happening? Or just walk out of it. He's a very comfortable, wealthy man.
Full episode is on the Top Boxing YouTube channel right now. What did you make, Adam, of what Johnny was saying?
Well, he's my best mate in boxing, so I can't go against him. Johnny is coming from a place of love, of course. He's a former fighter who just wants the best for Anthony Joshua. I don't think AJ's finished. I think he wants to carry on. I think he wants to fight on, and that's his decision. He's not old. He's obviously had that defeat to Daniel Dubois, but I do want the Tyson Fury fight to happen. I don't think necessarily we're all sick of it. I think if it was made, or two of them were made for 2026, we'd all get behind it and we'd get on with it, and it would be great for the nation and for boxing. I'd like to see AJ come back. I know he wants to, but I guess Johnny's coming from a fighter's point of view who had a long career, and he's coming from love. But no, I don't agree with him on this point.
You don't want to see him fight Jake Paul, Simon, do you?
No, not at all. In one respect, I do, because I'd like to see him knock Jake Paul into the next round. But in the reality of what I think it's worth, no. I mean, I am moderately interested in seeing him fight Tyson Fury, because I think it's the only box that's left unticked. Do I think he wins a world title again? No. Am I surprised he got knocked out by Daniel Dubois? No. Did I say that during the course of his rehabilitation with Jermaine Franklin, Robert Helenius, Otto Wallin, and Francis Ngannou, that if someone live one came up to him, I think he'd have problems? He did. So I think his best days are way, way behind him. Yeah. But he's still bankable box office and still probably the biggest name in boxing when he turns up.
Or as we saw this week in Nigeria, in Africa, there's calls for AJ to fight over there, and him against Martin Bakole is massive for 2026. So I think there are huge options, and Eddie, as he says, AJ is side A and he's still big box office. So it's up to Anthony whether he wants to fight on.
What we do know, Adam, is that October the 25th is a massive night for boxing. But a bit of a clash going on here. Queensberry has Wardley against Parker. Boxer hosts Clark against Jamie TKV on free-to-air. So what's going on here? Promoters going head-to-head in the same night. Is the competition good for the sport, or is it damaging for the sport? Here is one, Frank Warren.
Got to be honest, I'm a bit disappointed that, I think they've done a 4-fight deal with BBC, and the first show that the BBC date give them is to clash with another show. It's madness. I don't understand it. But look, it is what it is. It's up against our show. I mean, the two guys are fighting on our main event. Fabio Wardley is in a real tough fight against Joe Parker. I mean, these are different levels, by the way. And, Fabio's beaten obviously Frazier in big style, certainly in the last fight, and I really do like Frazier, but he absolutely poleaxed him in his last fight, or the fight he had with him. And then you look at Joe Parker, who's on a roll, and he's an interim champion. So it's a big fight. It's a great fight card, and it is what it is. We'll get on with it and do what we got to do. But levels, these are different levels we're talking about. Seriously different levels.
Yeah. Are they seriously different levels, Adam?
He's a great promoter, isn't he? They are different levels, of course. Fabio Wardley beat, as Frank said, he beat Fraser Clark in a round in their rematch. He goes in with Joseph Parker, who should have had by now another world title opportunity. And TKV, we know at the moment they're domestic level. However, the BBC is a big deal. I like the fact that we've got national television back with boxing. I think that's great for Ben Shalom. It's disappointing it's on the same night. Of course it is. I don't think any clash is great. I've heard the timings of the main event are different, so I guess you can get both in. But yeah, I know where my attention will be. It will be on the O2. Big week for DAZN. Huge fight with Wardley and Parker, and it's the bigger fight. But obviously the deal with BBC is great for boxing.
I mean, Simon, competition in all walks of life surely is good. It's healthy.
It happens all the time. I remember going down to the Vitality to watch Chris Billam-Smith fight Lawrence Okoli. for the cruiserweight title, and there was another major event which Eddie Hearn was complaining about was being that this fight was put on the same evening. It happens. Maybe I don't think Ben Shalom would have engineered it that way. It may just be that's the slot that the BBC allocated, and it gets on with it. It'll be interesting to see what the viewing figures are, because that will be a determiner. I mean, ultimately, it's on BBC Two. It's a new place for it, so we'll see. I mean, Wardley. I know where my attention will be. My attention will be on
Wardley Parker.
Absolutely, because it's the better fight. But there's still, I mean, Fraser Clark fighting Jamie TKV has the potential of being a stinker. It also has the potential of being a decent fight. Depends how it goes and what Fraser does in that fight more than what Jamie does, in my view.
Yeah, but crucially, it's free to air. So as Simon says, Adam, it would be interesting to see what audience it gets.
It should get a big audience, and we hope it gets a big audience, but at the same time, the better fight and the bigger night is at the O2.
Yeah.
No question about that, but we're boxing fans, and obviously, as we've said about Zuffa boxing, we've said about Netflix and all the things that Turki Al-Sheikh has done over the last couple of years, boxing is being talked about, and that's what we want.
Dalton Smith is being talked about, is he not?
Really like him.
So he heads to New York, January the 10th, and he gets his shot, a WBC World Super Lightweight clash. This is a big moment for him. What chance do you give him, Adam?
Great fighter, great guy, Dalton Smith, and he's done everything the right way. He's established himself. He's gone through the levels, domestic to European. He's made himself mandatory challenger, and he's even going out stateside to try and win this belt, the WBC title. I think it's fantastic. It's on January the 10th, and he said he's going to take out an army of fans with him. He's one of the good guys in boxing, Dalton Smith, and he'll have a lot of support behind him.
Excellent. 18-0 at the moment. He's in a great position, isn't he?
Yeah, and I'm very pleased to see that there's a bit of distance between the conversation about him fighting Adam Azim, because I'd like them to develop in their own vacuums. I'd like Adam Azim to be fighting Dalton Smith for a world title rather than being pushed into a situation, too early for Adam. But Dalton Smith is a top-class operator, and he is at the level now where I think he can win a world title.
And he'll take a bunch of fans with him, and it makes me think the very thing that Ricky Hatton used to do, Adam. To a huge extent, a massive extent, because of the following that Ricky had. And I know you were hit very, very hard by the news regarding Ricky. You were very close to him.
Yep.
And the funeral is next week, as I understand it.
Yeah, it's on the 10th in Manchester. Huge procession from Hyde, and the ceremony will be in Manchester Cathedral, and then the procession goes to the Etihad. So it's all over Manchester, which was, of course, Ricky's hotbed. But yeah, very, very. Very, very hard I've taken this, and my family. We were really close to Ricky. We basically grew up in boxing with Ricky Hatton, everyone at Sky Sports. You know, you'll remember, Jim, he was an incredible athlete, a fantastic fighter, a wonderful human being, and just so much fun to be around. And you mentioned Dalton Smith taking out a load of fans. You know, Dalton and I were talking about Ricky the other day, and he said he was at the, I think it was the Etihad, or maybe it was the Manchester Arena, one of Ricky's fights when he was about 9 or 10, and Ricky inspired him. And Anthony Crolla, who we had on earlier, he was in the Manchester Arena when he was 13, 14, looking down and watching the Hitman and those amazing nights. So he leaves a huge legacy. It's heartbreaking. I'm finding it really difficult, and my heart goes out to his whole family and everything that lies ahead in this next week. The boxing world is with them, and we all mourn together.
Adam, thanks for being with us today. We wish you well next week.
Thank you.
As for Mr. Jordan and I, you and I are heading to the airport, and we're heading to Glasgow, as is Adam Smith later on tomorrow. That's it. We're coming up to 1 o'clock this Thursday lunchtime.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.